I am Diamonds, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of two children's books, no other than Mr. Rami Jandali. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Rami. And can you please introduce yourself more?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm going to start by saying thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Rami Jandali, as you said, and I am the author of two children's books at this time. My first book is called An Almond All Alone, and the second book is Blueberry Fairy. Blueberry Fairy, I just recently released, and I'm very excited about both of these books to spread the news of them to all kids, all parents, all grandparents. What excites me most about writing is that I can inspire children to tell stories, and that really is the bread and butter of my storytelling and my authoring ways so far. It's just to get people to be excited about telling stories.
Yes, yes, yes. To inspire children all over the world, what is the central theme or message you want to convey in your
Yes,
two books?
absolutely. I would say both of my books have a very similar theme, and that's acceptance. That's to accept others, to spread kindness, to make sure that no matter what we look like, there's the almond and an almond all alone. He's born half bitten. He's different than all the other nuts. And for a long time, he was singled out, he was bullied, and then it just took one event in his life, one person to believe in him to change everything, his outlook on life and how everything was going to come to him after that. So both of my books really talk about accepting others, believing in yourself, and spreading kindness more than anything.
Believe in yourself, people. Oh, that's good, good, good character. Who is the main character and what makes them relatable to children?
Definitely. In the Almond All Alone, it's the almond that's on the front cover. And as I had mentioned, he's born half bitten. And the reason why I feel like he's so relatable to not only children, but really every single one of us. All of us were children at some point. And he's different. He's born different, just like we're all born different. Some of us are born different with our personalities, physical traits, different actions that we take, behaviors, thought processes. And so I think we're all the almond at one point in our lives where others may question us or maybe not really accept us because they don't know too much about us. So the almond and an almond all alone was really created to have children particularly relate to a character that isn't a hero in the beginning. He's really just a little nut that's trying to get by, but he's made fun of, he's bullied, and then what he does is he finds a friend in the most unexpected place, and that friend takes his confidence to a whole nother level. So the almond is really within each and every one of us. At some point, all of us have been sad or lonely or felt like that almond, but all it took was one great change in our life to make us feel like we were on top of the world. And in Blueberry Fairy, the main character is the Blueberry Fairy, the one on the front cover. Different than the almond, she's actually a hero. She starts as a hero. She has magical powers. She has the ability to do things that everyone in her land is so excited about. However, what makes her relatable to kids and everyone is that all of us have a special talent, a special power, something that makes us very unique. But sometimes along the way, we find a hurdle or a challenge that makes us question ourselves or makes us not feel like we have all the confidence in the world. So there is a character in Blueberry Fairy that wants that special power that she has. And I think we've all experienced that. And kids will come to understand that as they make their talents known and they get better at things, others might feel like they want what's not theirs. And so as long as you stay true to yourself and you believe that what's on the inside matters the most, nothing can really get in your way.
Very well said, Mr. Rami, and thank you for sharing your talent to the world. How will the illustration complement the story and engage young readers?
Yeah, so the stories really are meant to get kids excited about reading a lighthearted tale, something that it's in a rhyming pattern. It has a very, very light tone to it, but it does have a message that gets revealed throughout the story. So if we can all relate to these characters at one point in our lives, I feel like it makes it easy to follow along. And both stories have obstacles. Both stories have things that the main character has to deal with in order to get to that happy ending. And just like in life, all kids have to get to the point where they know that there are some happy days, there are some sad days, but when we have those sad days, we can really look to one another to help boost us back to that level of happiness. So as long as we stay positive, we stay optimistic, all of us can go from that sad almond to the happy one at the end of the story.
Yes, people be optimistic in any way. It helps you a lot. What is the setting of your story and how does it contribute to the narrative?
Mhm. So, in An Almond All Alone, the setting is a fictional land called Nutopia because it's nuts of all kinds that live in this land. You have pistachios, pecans, walnuts, almonds, etc. And it's a beautiful land filled with vivid imagery and color, but the almond feels like everywhere he walks, it's dark. It's a cloudy gray sky because there hasn't been a happy moment in his life. So, in order to get to that brightness, he had to find a friend because at that point he had never had anyone that believed in him. So once that happened, he was able to achieve the greatest success in Nutopia. In Nutopia, there's always a competition as to who's going to be the greatest nut. And he never felt like he stood a chance because what did he have to offer? He wasn't even a complete almond. But the moment he found this unsuspecting friend named Jerome who believed in him for no reason other than just to believe in him, he felt like his whole world changed and the color was restored to his life and he was able to achieve that great dream. And without spoiling the ending, things worked out for him in the end because he started to believe in himself because someone else did first. And in Blueberry Fairy, very similarly, it's a fictional land called Fruitopia with fruits of all kinds. And there's one fruit called the raisin who happens to be bitter and down on his luck and wrinkly. He used to be a grape, he used to be a very youthful fruit, but time has taken its toll on him. Unfortunately, it took its toll on his personality too. So he felt like he needed to live by himself reclusively. And when he found out that the Blueberry Fairy was there, he wanted her powers. He wanted to reverse what had happened to him. But he learned very quickly that her powers were only for good. And if you don't have that good intention inside of you, then things are going to continue to be unfavorable for you. So it took something very transformative, very miraculous for the raisin to realize what he had been doing all that time. And there's a very cool twist at the end of the story that really teaches, I think, a strong lesson to kids, which is continue to believe in yourself no matter who's in your way. And even when you do face adversity, keep going.
Keep going, people. At the end, there's a saying that at the end of the rainbow, there's a gold pot of gold.
Absolutely.
So, what problem or challenges does the main character face in the story?
Sure. In An Almond All Alone, he faces the problem of never being accepted. He was born looking different, so everyone thought, oh, he's just an incomplete nut. And his problem was that he never had a friend that made him feel better about himself. Once he did find that friend in the most unexpected of places, his luck turned around. He started to realize, wow, I am different, but that's good. We're all unique in our own ways. So that challenge of not feeling accepted until someone believes in you, I think it's something we can all relate to. We've all felt times where we're in a rut, we're not feeling our best, and then it just took a family member, a friend, a loved one, a colleague, someone to just give us a little boost and remind us how special we really are. And in the Blueberry Fairy, the challenge came in the form of one character rather than all the characters. And that character, called the Raisin, he happened to just pose a challenge to that Blueberry Fairy who all she wanted to do was spread her powers in the best way. She wanted to help the fruits in the land, but he wanted to take what she had. So her biggest challenge was trying to convince him that what he was doing wasn't right and that he could turn things around. Just because you're not acting well doesn't mean you have no hope or no chance. It means that you just need someone to shed light on the way things could be. And once you start thinking things positively, you start to realize, wow, I've really been thinking about this the wrong way. So he came to realize that her power wasn't really her special magical wand. Her power was her kindness.
So how will you balance text and illustrations on each page?
So each illustration really talks about one scene. It demonstrates one moment in the life of Natopia, or in Blueberry Fairy in the life of Fruitopia. And every illustration, I illustrated both of these books as well as writing them, and I really took a passion in trying to bring the right color and the right imagery to every scene. When the Blueberry Fairy was on the page, you see the brightness, you see the purple, the colors with all the happy fruits. And when the raisin was there, that purple turned dark, and you saw those darker skies because he really brought with him not the best intentions in the beginning. So I really took pride in making sure every illustration for kids gave the tone and set the mood for what those words to follow were going to be. And in An Almond All Alone, it was a brighter illustrated book. We didn't have the purples, we had the light blues and the light browns because of the nuts and the beautiful skies. But any page that had the almond early on, I tried to make sure that we had a little bit of a sad color that was accompanying it until things turned around. And when things turned around, those clouds went away and the sun popped up. And at the very end of the story, you see the sun with a happy face, just making everything around the whole land of Natopia feel like it's now brighter because the almond is feeling better.
Yes. So how does the story resolve, and what lesson or moral do you want children to take away?
So both stories resolve with a happy ending, thankfully. The almond, without giving everything away, I would say the almond finds his friend Jerome, and Jerome is a walnut. He's bouncy, he's happy, he's cheery. He's never met the almond before, but he felt like, I need to spread that joy to someone who needs it. So the almond finds that friend, and they realize that together there's the power of two. And all his life he had been living as one. And when you have two, there's really nothing to get in your way because you know that you can bounce back with your partner. And so the walnut was really his best friend. It was his partner. It was someone that believed in him so much that it took him to the end. And when that competition came time to judge what all the great things the nuts had done, they saw something unique with the nut. That was the almond and the walnut, and they did something so different, so they received the grand prize. So really the theme of that is, no matter how different you are, no matter how untalented you feel at times, we all have something that can really shine. And sometimes it just takes the right person or the right influence in your life to make you feel confident again. And that's how the almond really realized, wait a second, I might have ridges to me, I might be a broken almond, but that doesn't mean that I have to give up on life. So it resolves with that theme that if we accept each other and ourselves, we're capable of greatness. And the Blueberry Fairy, that story ends in a similar way.
Yes, I want to just give you a clap on that for that
Thank you.
message.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think kids these days really, really can stand to learn a lot about accepting each other because, it really starts at school age where unfortunately bullies come out and
Yes.
kids start to feel like their confidence is shaken, and it can take years for them to feel really good about themselves. So if at an early age, when they're reading these books at 3, 4, 5, 6, and they start to realize, wow, even an almond that looked like that, or even a raisin that felt like that, can actually turn things around. I think it can really inspire them to feel better about themselves and then to find the right friends or the right people around them to help boost them. And with the Blueberry Fairy, really the theme was knowing that no matter how tough things get, you might have all these talents. As long as you spread the most important talent, that's kindness in your heart, it can surpass everything else. You could be an athlete or a singer or someone that has this amazing talent, but that can be taken from you in just a moment's notice. And you may not have that talent again, but something that really unites us all is our heart. And if we can spread kindness, especially in these days where I feel like bright spots are needed, when you have a raisin in your life, when you have someone that's just down on their luck and trying to bring you down, I truly believe that the best way to make them feel better about themselves is to say, no matter how you're treating me, I will be kind to you because I know that that's what you need in your life. So the Blueberry Fairy realizes her special powers are not what she's been granting wishes, it's really her heart.
Yes, yes, yes. But before we go on, Mr. Rami, I want to shout out my top five countries listening this week because in Suriname, I got number three on the Apple charts. St. Kitts and Nevis in books, number eight. Suriname in arts, number 10. St. Kitts and Nevis, 28 in arts, and 36 in Ghana. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast because this podcast is created to empower writers, authors all over the world. Right, Mr. Rami Jandali. So, how will you ensure that your story is culturally sensitive and inclusive?
I think it's a great question because I really have always intended my books to be universal. And what better way than using the universal language of heart, love, acceptance, and kindness? I think regardless of one's culture, regardless of one's walk of life, what you really unites us at the end of the day is being able to spread kindness to each other, spread joy. Two people don't have to speak the actual same language to be able to understand happiness with one another. And that's really the almond and the walnut in a sense. They came from different parts of Nutopia. They'd never met, but what bound them together is belief, is knowing that if you can practice that spreading of joy, then you can lift up anybody else. So my books always, I feel like the intention of them is to unite everybody with that common theme of kindness and to inspire kids and people everywhere to tell stories. For me, that's something very personal to me is storytelling. I think in this world, it's so easy to get caught up on so many different things and challenges that you're going through. But at the end of the day, when you can spread your story or spread the stories of others, it can really engage and enlighten the mood and make others feel good about themselves. So that's something that I feel like my stories will hopefully do is get kids to use their imagination and tell stories.
Yes. So, how long will your book be, and how many pages are appropriate for the target age group?
Sure. So far, both of my books, An Almond All Alone and Blueberry Fairy, they're both between 24 to 28 pages. Each page has a set of rhymes. It's about 4 lines each. So I would say it's age appropriate from a wide range of as young as 3, as soon as they're starting to understand words and sounds, and maybe as old as 10. Really, I don't like to put an age limit because I think adults and grandparents can really enjoy these lighthearted tales as well. But if you're talking about the kid age range, I would say from 3 to 10 is a strong age range for them to learn because it's from preschool to the end of elementary school. The lessons that are told, the way that the story is told, I feel like it would appeal best to that age range.
So, what is the overall tone of your book?
They're light. They're happy even when things are not going well for some of the characters. They're lighthearted, they're bouncy, they have a nice rhythmic tone to them. So even when challenges are there, I feel like there's a nice rhythm to them that you know that there's something awaiting on the next page. So there's a little suspense because it's hard to know exactly what's happening when you're first reading the story, but I would say overall that they're lighthearted, they're positive, and hopefully engaging. I hope kids and parents and grandparents can find them engaging where they want to know what happens next.
So, is it your book feature any educational elements such as teaching numbers, letters, or other concepts?
Um, Indirectly, yes. It's not a preschool or letter learning book. It's more of a theme book. It's a book that really teaches a greater theme, which we had discussed about kindness, about acceptance, about believing in yourself and others. But I do believe I have a 5-year-old myself, and he likes to try and read the words as much as he can. And my 2-year-old is getting to the point where he's recognizing letters. So I think even as young as 2 or 3, you can start to break down any book and any page of any book and really start to recognize what the sounds are. And because my books do rhyme, I think it gives an added bonus to have that story sound a little bit more rhythmic. So I think it does teach about rhyming and teach about the sounds like most other books, but I think the strongest educational element is the theme that they embody.
How will you handle difficult or sensitive topics if they arise in your story?
So Sensitive topics and challenges I've always felt like are best met with optimism. There's always kind of like the characters in the books, there's always going to be hurdles. As long as you stay realistic and know that things will happen, things will try and get in your way. But if you don't let them get in your way, if you try and overcome them with happiness and with gratitude, I think gratitude is something that kids definitely are in the prime age to learn, and that's being thankful for things. Understanding that what we have, regardless of how we look or where we come from or all of those different uh, untouchable variables, it's so important to be grateful for what we have. So if I'm grateful and if I try and spread that message of gratitude, then it helps me overcome any challenges within my books and beyond.
Yes, and congratulations again for those messages you're conveying to the children. Be grateful, be optimistic, people. But before we go on, I want to please do invite you to purchase one of my bestsellers audiobooks, Thread of Existence, Waving the Tapestry of Life. One of my self-help book, Stand Tall, Stand Together, Breaking the Chains of Bullying. Book 101 Review, Volume 3. These are my 100 episodes of my first season of Book 101 Review. And of course, my climate change book, Earth Fever, Unraveling Climate and Our Race to Restore Balance. And Book 101 Review, Volume 2 selected. Again, this is are my 100 episodes of my first season of Book 101 Review, as well as Book 101 Review Volume 1, highly recommended to read. And one of my self-help book, Life is Too Short, A Journey of Discovery, Fulfillment, and Joy. Available on Audible. Please purchase them. Enjoy, listen to them. What role do supporting characters play in the story?
Supporting characters to me feel a lot stronger than just being supportive. They really take the place of not being a main character, and they add a very essential element because they're the ones that help the main character believe in themselves or overcome some kind of obstacle or adversity. So without the supporting characters, I think that whoever the adversary or the challenge is going to win because you need the help of others. It reminds us of family and friends and close ones that we can live our lives alone, but I don't think that we can really be triumphant in our lives if we live it alone. If we're not surrounded by those that love us and support us, and that's how those supportive characters come to life in my stories. They help the main character realize that when things are going down, there's another door to open. There's another, light at the end of that tunnel. So there's never a moment of darkness that's too long when you have someone in your corner, and that's what those supportive characters in my stories do. In Almond All Alone, it's the walnut. He's the supportive character. He's the one that brings the almond to life. And in Blueberry Fairy, it's a peach. Her name is Paulette, and she brings the Blueberry Fairy back on her feet, back in the air, back with her wings to make her feel like that zesty, lighthearted fruit that she always was, even when she started to feel down. So, very important roles that they play.
How will you structure the pacing, the story to keep young readers engaged?
Through rhyme, through a mix of both simple words and maybe some words that they can stand to learn. Because when parents are reading to their children or grandparents are reading to their children, it's always an opportunity to stop and really teach them, oh, what does this word mean? What does that word mean? This vocabulary expansion is so important. It's always been important to me to, find different ways of expressing our language without using the same words over and over and over again. So I do think that structuring these stories with rhyme can help it sound light and sing-songy, but at the same time giving new words for children that I think at that age they may not know all of these words gives them an opportunity to continue to learn and to stop and pause and wonder, oh, what does that word mean and how does that pertain to the story? So I would say a mix of lighthearted rhyme and a mix of challenging vocabulary, not overly challenging, but just enough for them to pause and question.
Yes. How will you test your story with children to ensure it resonates with them?
I think the best way to really resonate with children is to relate to children. And I've always felt like a child inside, a child at heart. And we all have that inner child within us, because we were all children at one point. So to be able to tap into your inner child and bring that out, especially you have the opportunity to do a reading at a school, a library, a bookstore, something that brings kids together. They can listen to the stories and they can see that you're not just an author behind a book where you have your picture and you're almost this non-existent apparition. You're actually a person. You can be a family man, you can be whoever it is that you are. You can relate to these kids, and thankfully I've had the opportunity to go to a few schools and read to a few classes and get them together and talk with them about what the theme was and what it meant to them. So connecting with kids and reminding them that we're all children at heart can really help them listen to the story much better.
Yes. What will be your advice for those aspiring children's books author?
I would say aspiring children's book authors should always keep in mind that we were all kids, so let your imagination come to life. Let it run wild. Don't make it sound like you would just because you're 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever age you are. You don't have to make it sound a certain way. Make it sound the way that your inner child is speaking to you. We all have a vivid imagination. It's just a matter of tapping into it and letting it come out. So I would give the best advice is to stay true to your inner child, because we all have childlike stories to tell. And some of us may just feel like, oh, they're not interesting enough, or oh, my imagination isn't as strong as the next person. But to that, I say, everyone's story is fun. Everyone's story is different and unique. And if I didn't bring my stories to life, there wouldn't be a story about an almond or a blueberry in this way. If Dr. Seuss didn't bring his stories to life, or Walt Disney didn't bring his stories the way that he brought them to life, we wouldn't know about Mickey Mouse and the Cat in the Hat and different things that may sound silly in your mind, but when you breathe life into them, they have so much more meaning than just what it is that they are as characters.
So, what are your short term and long term goals in doing?
Short-term goals, yeah, short-term goals, I would say, is to really spread the word about my first two books as much as I can. I would love to have kids and parents and grandparents everywhere know about my books so that they can be interested enough to know that I do have more books to come. I do plan on that's more of my short and long-term goal. It's to write more books. I might create a series within the Blueberry Fairy. I feel like there's so much there that I can still turn into subsequent books, different versions. And the almond, his story is not done. He has different places in my mind that I think that he can go. But really, my short-term goal is to spread the word about my books that I've already written, while reminding people that we're all authors at heart. Any one of us can be an author, whether you want to be a children's book author or a nonfiction writer, whatever it is that interests you. We're all authors. It's a matter of feeling bold and brave and confident enough to tell our story and put it in writing. So my goal is to get my books out there to all the kids in the world, and eventually to have a huge compilation of books that, again, kids and adults can be excited about.
Yes, yes, yes. Good luck for your goals, Mr. Rami. But before we go on, I'm inviting you to please do purchase one of my Food 101 merchandise. Name it, and we have it. Like coffee mug, accessory pouch, apron, and many more. Food 101 people on our fourth season with Chef Alessandro, one of a specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. So please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about, well, what we talk about, I think top 10 Italian street food. So please do listen. Food 101 on our fourth season. So Mr. Rami, can you please invite our listeners to support your two children's books?
Absolutely. I invite everyone listening to check out An Almond All Alone and Blueberry Fairy. They're both available on Amazon. You can purchase them as a regular paperback. I always feel like that's the best version to sit down with a child or a grandchild or someone that's young in your life to be able to flip through the pages. But they're also available for those Kindle users out there on an ebook format. But if you go to Amazon.com and you type in the name of my stories or my name, Rami Jandali. Another way that you can find more information about me and my books is to go to my website, which is ramistories.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Rami Jandali because if you support him, more storybooks or children's books to come. So, Mr. Rami, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the opportunity.
More to come, people. See you soon.